Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of JKL Media, where three friends talk about geek stuff. We are finishing up our discussion of the HBO miniseries Watchmen. We are going to do episodes 7, 8, and 9. And joining me as we talk Who Watches the Watchmen is Lou
Hello, fellow watchers.
and Karen.
Hello, who watches?
And I am hoping that you two enjoyed this series as much as I did, and you feel that it stuck the landing. You want to give me quick thoughts, Karen?
Hello. Yes, it stuck the landing. I got very emotional during parts of these last episodes. And I like how they tied things together.
Yeah. Lou?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the episodes. The series went in a direction that I wasn't expecting, but that doesn't mean it wasn't really well done, and I really quite enjoyed it.
So I have written down, and I'm going to wait till after we discuss it, but last episode we had written down your final questions, and
Hmm.
I had said, I think you're going to be happy with almost all of them.
Right.
But we'll go over that at the end. So feel free. Um, I'm going to try to do this in the 3 episodes, but if we end up going off on other things, that's perfectly fine. But an almost religious awe is the episode um, where we kind of get um, Angela's coming down from her, nostalgia trip, and we get her backstory. We continue to get more information about Adrian and just all kinds of stuff. So, um, Lou, you want to, and I'm pulling up my notes to talk about specifics, but
Hmm.
kind of let's get started on maybe her growing up in Vietnam.
Yeah, that was really well done. I thought the little child actor that they got to play her younger version was fantastic. I really enjoyed that, and we learned why she was in Vietnam and why she grew up there because of what happened to her parents with the explosion, uh, killing them. And then her grandmother comes to take her back and tragically dies of a heart attack. So it was all really well done. Again, the little girl, she really sold that part of the episode for me, and I just thought it was, you know, it's parallels in a lot of ways what her grandfather went through in uh, Tulsa. Was it Tulsa?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, in Tulsa. So it was a parallel of uh, of what her grandfather went through. So that I thought it was real well done, and it just really shows how lives can parallel each other or events can repeat, not quite in the same way, obviously, but the significant emotional events can happen over and over again in one's life, which is really interesting, especially as we get into the later episodes and time becomes a different entity in the later episodes.
Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, that you can see in her personality in the show that she is used to be alone, used to getting left behind. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't see what happened to her when her grandmother died in the street. I mean, can you imagine watching your parents die, then having to go to this, what can only be considered like a work camp, and then
Yeah.
her grandmother coming to her, them having this very quick, fast, strong bond with each other. Um, June, it was June.
Yeah.
Jane is Lori. Um, and then, losing her again before her life can get better. So
And
yeah.
and jumping ahead a little bit, Cal talks about that one of the things that she keeps saying is, I don't want a family, I don't want a family, I don't want a family. And he says, but it's very clear with everything she says and does, that's all she wants.
Right. Because
And
she was denied that her whole
right.
life. But she also is gun shy. She's afraid if she has a family and ends up loving them, they'll also leave her.
Yeah.
So
Or
it's,
die.
Yeah.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Abandon her in some way. So yeah, it's scary.
And we get the Sister Night, we get the origin because the VHS tape that she looks like me.
Yep.
That's why I want to watch this. And that's where she gets her her costume from, her, disguise. I also love the line that says white men in masks are hero, black men in masks are something to be scared.
Yep.
Which is, and one of the things I really loved about this series is it was not shy about addressing race, right?
Yeah, but not preachy either.
Right.
I thought,
Yeah.
it was close to the characters, so it became close to us.
Yeah.
And that was it. It wasn't like, oh my God, we need to do something about, no,
Yeah.
it was just, that's how it was for them.
Yeah.
So,
I also think that I want to know y'all's thoughts on, because they use the story mechanism that she is still coming down from nostalgia. They kept doing flashbacks. So this is not a linear episode. This is, she sees them, her parents dying. We see them finding the man who killed her parents and them killing them.
right.
And that's where she decides she wants to be a cop. She has that badge. And right, that they're trying to, she's connected to something. She thinks it's her grandfather. What were your thoughts? And I'll go with you, Karen, first. When you see what she was connected to.
Yeah, the elephant.
Yes.
What was that about? I mean, was it just that they were substituting something and it had to be something that didn't care that it was sequestered away? But what?
Elephants have good memories.
Yeah, I guess. But other
Elephants never
things,
forget.
Yeah.
other things don't forget either. It was just weird to have this sleeping elephant in the other room. And I thought, well, maybe we'll get more about what that elephant is, and we didn't get anything more
No.
about it. It was just a non sequitur.
So, Lou, thoughts, and then I'll give you some behind the scenes stories.
I just thought that was just a visual device to show, because elephants supposedly have great memories. So they have a larger brain, so they have extra capacity to exchange memories than if it was something smaller. So I just think that was the reason why they did that.
Yeah, so there was a lot of discussion in the writers' room. Once again, I recommend strongly the official HBO podcast because they go through 3 episodes, 3 episodes each episode of the podcast. So he talked about Damon, that his idea was that it would be an Angela clone in the other room. And rightly, the room said that was the worst idea ever. So they debated. They knew they did not want it to be her grandfather because that would be too easy.
Right.
And he could not remember who, but someone, the idea is, and Lady Trieu wants her memories. Lady Trieu wants to store those memories. So someone came up with the idea, right, that they're cleaning the blood, that going through this person, going through the liver, or kidneys, whichever cleans the blood, through this animal, and then an elephant, because an elephant never forgets, that would be a big enough animal to help clean that. And it always makes a great kind of image of, holy crap, it's an elephant. I did not have elephant on the bingo. Yeah.
Right.
But is elephant blood compatible with human blood?
I don't know.
That's kind of weird.
It was very weird.
I
Yeah.
think I can buy the memory aspect of it, but the blood
Yeah.
purification thing, I don't buy
Yeah.
that. But
It was very strange.
yeah,
I did love the use of Daryl Hall and John Oates every time you go away. I
Right.
thought the song was really well done. The idea that, it's played in the background, then it's played. They go to Burgers and Burst. I can't pronounce it. That's also seen in the original Watchmen, that
Right.
chain. And it is very sad that Angela keeps losing people. Um,
They also use a newsstand,
yeah,
which was a bit of a pivotal, if you watch backstory stuff, pivotal
yeah,
thing for the movie as well.
yeah. So we do find that we find out that Lady Trieu's daughter is actually her mother, which
A
is something
clone of
I
her
did not
mother.
see. Yeah, clone of her
Yeah.
mother. And I did not see that coming. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Wouldn't you think she would have a clone of herself? I mean, more so than her mother.
Yeah, I
I
think
would
that's
think that, but
yeah.
yeah, that was a surprise.
Well, and what she said is she wanted her parents there to see her greatest achievement, right?
Right.
We do see that also Lady Trieu is the one that has all the Dr. Manhattan phone booths. So that
Mm-hmm.
way she's getting that information from people. I think that was an interesting thought. They talk about Cal. It's very rare having total amnesia, and Angela kind of plays that close to the vest. I'm going to get to Adrian's trial in a minute, but the big reveal of Lady Trieu saying Dr. Manhattan's not in Mars, he's here in Tulsa.
yeah,
And were you guys surprised when that statement made, Lou?
yes, very much so.
Did you, even at this point, connect who Dr. Manhattan was?
Nope.
I I tried to go if he's in Tulsa, and I'm going, well, what impact could he have on the story? It has to be somebody that we've seen already. So I kind of had an idea that it was going to be her husband, but I
Yeah.
wasn't 100% sure.
And also, unfairly, I had shared that he had won an Emmy. So that's also like, oh, well, maybe that's why, right?
I thought maybe he was one
Yeah,
of the policemen.
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking, well,
Yeah.
he must have done something big, so it would have to
Hmm.
be something big. So it
Yeah.
kind of led me to that conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, where I think that's a great ending, where she says, "No, John, you're not yourself." And right, instead of saying Cal, and you're like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
I am sure you guys went directly to the next episode with that one.
Yep,
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Um, Also at the end of the episode, the song over that was Life on Mars. And anytime I hear that song, it it gives me feels.
Hmm.
Because it was also a song heavily featured and rightly so in the show Life on Mars.
Right.
The BBC version and the American version. And it seems to be used to give a lot of weight to something.
Hmm.
It literally means like being separated from
Yeah.
other things. And I feel like that's a complete description of Angela's life.
Okay. Um, any thoughts on, let's move to okay, Cyclops, the Calvary's plan, right? Well, let's talk about that. Laurie goes to kind of talk to um the sheriff's, wife. And I love that scene where, oh, am I supposed to deny it? And she's pushing the trap door, and Laurie's like, a trap door? Really?
That
So
was funny.
yeah. Uh, so the idea, right, is they were going to have him, if the premise was, okay, if Jeb owns the police, and if, Senator Keene owns the Seventh Cavalry, if we can both control them, cause peace, that would be enough to get us to the White House. And then they decided to go a little bit further. I love the scene where Senator Keene says, "It's not easy being a white man in America, so now I'm going to be a blue man." Um, so thoughts
Whenever
on that
that, I hate that
storyline?
sentence. It's not
Yes,
easy being a white man in America. Come on.
right.
Really?
Yes,
I mean, any other class, race, creed of people has it worse. Any other. I don't care who you pick. And no offense to you guys.
no, I
But
get it. Yeah, no, I hear what you're
yeah,
saying.
that always makes me angry. Like
Yeah,
angry.
sure.
So yeah, Keen is a piece of work.
And
Definitely.
and I love because how likable that actor is, that
Yeah.
he really comes across nice. Lou, thoughts on that? Their plan, right? They're going to make him the next Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, I, I didn't really get how they actually thought they were going to accomplish that, but I like me and Karen you asked if we thought that he was going to turn out to be not what he was, and he definitely did.
Yeah,
But he just came off as another megalomaniac.
yeah,
So that was, and I Karen, like the of being a white man in America, that line just didn't really land with me at all. But I think that was meant to show how deluded he was.
yeah.
So
That
that's the
phrase
way
is
I took it.
said a lot
Yeah,
by men here in the United States. So
yeah, yeah. So I think it was just pointing out the absurdity of the statement, is what
Yeah.
was the intent. So that's the way I took it anyhow. But yeah, it was pretty weird plan, and I love the way it plays out in the next episode.
Yeah. The and I love Jean Smart is so good in this series.
mhm.
She is just wonderful in this. Um, so we've got that's going to happen. We know that Laurie's captured. We don't know what happened to Looking Glass, Mirror Guy, right? Because
Mirror
there's
guy,
all
yeah.
these dead people in his room,
Yep.
Yeah.
house. They don't know what's going on. And they're ready to, the Red Scare and the other actress, the other, detective is trying to take them. Cal wants to see, and so there's a lot going on. Um, and we end up with with Angela goes to her husband, says, shit's going down, and we need to do this. Um, and we kind of fill in the gaps, either this episode or the next one, of what happened on the White Knight, why she survived, which I thought was a nice. They kind of left it in the background and then kind of explain. All right,
Yeah.
so
She actually says to him, "Hey baby, we're in
yeah,
effing trouble."
yeah, which is great.
So
Um,
can I
yes,
have a couple of pieces of trivia about this episode?
sure,
Um,
please.
the episode's title is taken from Manhattan's recollections in the original comic when he stops Vietnam.
Yeah,
And then what was it? Lindelof, David Lindelof, is that his name?
yeah,
Something Lindelof.
Damon.
yeah,
Damon,
Damon
thank
Lindelof.
you. When they used the vibrator, its name is Excalibur. And he was using that as saying Cal Abar,
Ah,
Excalibur. So that was a little Easter egg behind the scenes. So anyway.
nice. I did not know that. Very cool. Um, so Adrian is on trial.
Oh
He's in
my.
his Ozymandias uniform, and he has all these different um clones, beings, whatever you want to call them. They're having the game warden is the one who's being the judge. They're doing everything. I thought it was very interesting that the prosecutor actually winks at him after her closing statement. So, what were your thoughts of this trial? And Lou, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, it was it was a good moment of act for Irons to really chew up some scenery. So I I liked it from that perspective. And is this the episode where we find out the identity of these clones, or is that the next
No,
one?
next one.
Next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was very curious about that as well. I was wondering who these people were. Have been wondering ever since they were in the first episode. So I yeah, it was just it was just a fun little beat scene. And Irons or Osmondius has a really high opinion of himself is what comes across. And yet, as we find out as the series goes along, he's constantly exposing his clay feet.
Hmm. And sometimes
Yeah.
those clay feet are a heart made of gold, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I appreciated his closing statement,
yes, that was pretty funny, right?
a huge long fart.
Yes. Um, so I did not know this till I listened to the podcast that the play he is writing is not the Watchman's son, but it is this trial. I did not get that from watching the episode, and I don't know if we should have, but the idea is he's just trying to keep from going insane. So he is having everyone go through these motions because he's killing time till something happens and we get
Right.
that next episode. So I that's why when she winks at him, it's because she's saying exactly what he wanted her to say,
Yeah.
Ah,
which
okay.
which I thought was, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
Mhm.
it
cool.
I think it works even if you don't know that,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep.
but now
So
that you
he
know
was
that,
giving them a script
yes.
for the future trial, I guess. Is that what?
Right. Yeah. In other words,
Yeah.
yeah, he knew this. So, all right. Anything else on this one before we go to the next one? I'm looking at my notes. I don't
Well,
think
we
there
haven't
is
talked
anything.
about the hammer.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
hmm
Wow.
So yeah, let's talk about that, and then we'll go right into the next one. A god walks into a bar. Yeah,
Abar. Yeah.
yeah. So she takes the hammer, and what the hell? What were you thinking when you saw that?
I was a bit taken aback, as I
Okay.
should be, I would assume.
Yes.
And of course, we didn't get the explanation until the next episode. So I was really worried about what was going on. So yeah,
Yeah,
scared me
like
a little bit.
what the hell is she doing, right?
Right. Is she
Yeah.
killing him?
Yeah. Yeah. How
Yeah.
about you, John? How about you? Lou, I'm good. Chin. Yes, I'm looking at my notes.
Uh, that was a moment when I said, okay, he's got to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So that was
Mhm.
basically literally the hammer dropped. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So we go to the next episode, which I think is amazing. It is different than the one where she is on nostalgia, but in its own way, I think just as creative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is where if you have trouble grasping nonlinear time, this can really mess with your mind, right? So the idea is that John, Dr. Manhattan, experiences all time at all the same time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when she says, when did you fall in love with me? You know, and he says when she's trying to protect him, even though he's told her I know the future. The future is I'm still going to die and she won't give up. He says, this is when I fell in love with you. And therefore, he's always been in love with her because it's all at
Right.
the same time. Is very, if you spend too much time, you will get a migraine thinking
Yep.
about it, right? But I, we establish he doesn't know when he wakes up, he doesn't remember anything that he did as Cal. And the reason why he's at first kind of confused is basically there's download of everything that's happened over the past 10 years is rushing him to him.
Right.
So, based on your knowledge, we're going to start with you, Karen. How were you surprised that Cal was Dr. Manhattan?
Yeah, like I
And
said,
yeah,
I didn't know, and I was content to not speculate too much
yeah,
because I knew I was going to watch all three of the
yeah,
episodes. So I just kind of let it unfold. But when she started hitting him with the hammer, not only was it shocking to me, but I thought, okay, well, she's not killing him. So there's
right,
something going on there. And then finding out what it was. And there are so many little parallels in the story. Cyclops are the bad guys, but it
right.
also can be that thing in Dr. Manhattan's head,
Yeah,
so it can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's showing like, the two sides of the same coin thing. Um, I I loved this episode. I agree with you 100% that it's on the same level of awesomeness as the episode where she experiences her grandfather's memories, but in a completely different way because we're seeing almost how he experiences time. We're
yeah,
seeing that kind of, at least it's hinting at it. And I really loved that we got a lot of explanation in this episode for things that were happening that really had nothing to do with Dr. Manhattan as well. Like why Vite was on this other planet, Europa, not Io, as I was saying
yeah.
before, but Europa. Why the castle was there, why the clones were there. I mean, we got explanations to all this stuff. Um, and a lot of, Angela's background, Dr. Manhattan's background, and so many things that even happened before the movie that
Yeah.
we never learned about him. And I just really loved everything about this episode. Just everything about it. It was amazing.
Lou?
Yeah, I echo Karen's overall thoughts, though I do have some questions. And a lot of it has to do with the Dr. Manhattan's state of awareness of nonlinear time,
Yeah,
uh, because it raises up questions of fate versus free will,
yeah,
and uh, and I guess maybe I don't remember the comics properly, or maybe it was because in this episode there was references that Lori was Dr. Manhattan's girlfriend at one
Yes.
time.
yes, she was.
And I
Yes.
found it weird that she didn't have much. Well, she had a reaction, but initial reaction, but after that, there was nothing there between the two of them. Like she wasn't upset that she was with somebody else. So I don't know if I'm dwelling on that. Did you either of you have any issues with that part of the story,
Well, by
or
the end of the movie, she had realized that he was so separated from her reality that they couldn't be together. And she kind of
which
was
ends up not being true?
And she was with Dan.
right, Owl
Yes,
Man
yeah,
or whatever.
Owlman. So
Yeah.
they had been together. So look at it this way. She was Cal or John had a new relationship with Angela, but she had also moved on and had a new relationship with Dan, who
Okay,
we don't
Right.
see in this we don't see in this
right,
episode. That's
right.
the one in
Right.
prison, the owl
Yes.
that's in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
So I was just,
I was a little
No,
disappointed we didn't get to see him, but
yeah,
yeah,
and I also think that the I would have and you only have so much time, but yes, I would
sure.
have liked to seen Lori because because she keeps calling
Right.
John.
That's why I was
Yeah.
kind of going like,
So to see him like that, like holy crap, right?
yeah, yeah.
You're alive.
So
I
Yes.
think some of it was maybe just shock.
Yeah,
yeah,
could
yeah,
be.
for sure. So the it's weird. I found it also weird that they kept on referring to him as a god, yet he couldn't escape his fate, which I struggled with. Like, if you know this is going to happen, then why don't you do something different to change it? Um, so that dynamic was always playing in the back of my mind. Like when he rescued Angela from the Calvary,
Yeah.
he zapped those guys. Why didn't he zap that gun, that's whatever it was that
Yeah.
teleported him to the other channel. Why did he get rid of that at the same time? So stuff like
And
that was a little unclear to me.
I know this is kind of double speak, but
Hmm.
it's the idea he didn't because he didn't,
Right.
Right.
right? I mean, in other words, to him, time is like a movie, and so he experienced it, but he can't change it.
Right.
So
Right.
he didn't destroy it because he never destroyed it. So therefore, he couldn't have destroyed it, which gives you a headache if you think about it too strong,
Yeah, and that's where
right?
I struggle with the free will versus fate
Yes.
aspect of the storyline. And it's interesting because I just watched yesterday, and I don't know if either of you have seen this movie, Arrival,
Mm-hmm.
with the Denis Villeneuve movie with Amy
Yeah.
Adams, and the
Yep.
and that's also dealing with nonlinear time, and uh, you know, the whole um, theme of that movie is that if you knew all the moments of your life ahead of time, would you still live them out the way they play out, even if you knew that there were going to be some tragic events in those and that? And this is very much in that same ilk. So
Yeah.
uh, I
And
found that quite interesting.
and I love the idea, right, when he's trying to convince her to have dinner with him,
Yes.
and she says we're together 10 years and it ends in tragedy. And he goes, "Yes." And he's
Yeah.
smiling. And she goes, "But," he says, "don't all relationships end in tragedy?"
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um is and she's so good, and they're both so good in that scenes
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
where just them talking back and forth.
Yeah.
And and he the other thing you don't realize till you watch it a second or third time is how significant when he creates that egg, which is a
Right.
cheesy magic trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, um, and he goes, "Well, in theory, I could put all my powers into an organic thing, and if that person consumed it, they would have my powers, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, if we skip ahead to the ending, I had, I sent, by the way, little scene behind the scenes listeners, I sent them both an email saying, by the way, don't want to spoil anything, but Inception, Damon Lindelof loved that ending.
Hmm.
And so that's why I wanted to set up that he does not feel like this series ends in a cliffhanger. In
Right.
his mind, the answer is very clear what happens next, and he doesn't need to show it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we
Which is
get
different
that.
than Inception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Inception wants you to think of it.
yeah,
Although there are essentially clues in
yeah.
Inception that tell you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the idea, right? And he says it's both the chicken or the egg, it's both at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, I love the idea that we find out that Adrian thinks the idea of being in this wonderful place that is an Eden where humans do nothing but worship and love him is heaven, but it turns out to be hell, right, for
Yeah.
him. And that's why he's wanting to escape, which I once again, I was very happy with this. They give you that answer. Why is he trying to escape? Why is he trying to do it? And who that message was that we only see part help me, and we explain
Mm-hmm.
why. So let's talk about Adrian being rescued. Is that this episode or next episode? It gets
This one.
confusing. Okay, let's talk about Adrian being rescued. Karen?
Yeah. I I loved that. We do get to see a lot of this connection between Vite and the world that we've already seen.
Yeah,
We do know that in the movie, Dr. Manhattan almost sided with him taking this drastic step in order to save humanity.
right.
And it was a nuke in the movie, but in the
Yeah,
comic book, it's a squid. So
right.
I do like that they go back to the squid in this one.
Yeah,
Um, and we learn how he's doing it. We learn that he and Dr. Manhattan do have this connection that they kind of look at things in the same way. Dr. Manhattan looks at things from a pragmatic standpoint. He doesn't have the emotion attached to everything. Whereas Veidt looks at it as not only does it solve the problem, but he's the one that solved it. And he's very happy about that. He's very self-centered.
Yes.
So he did it not to get credit, but for the people around him to see that he did it and for himself to know. It's kind of like a secret he keeps how awesome he is. And so when Dr. Manhattan sets this thing up, first of all, he was going to stay there.
Right.
Which I think is cool that we get to see why he created these two people, that it was people that he really liked in Germany when he was young.
Yeah, they talked about they were very kind to him and his father. And they talked about making life is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Right.
Right.
And
Because he taught them.
he almost gives them his whole philosophy.
Yeah.
Which I liked a lot. And he translated that to something completely warped on Europa, which I feel like he might have liked to live there. And where Veidt, we see, when this is first described to him, this seems like nirvana.
Yeah.
Having people at my beck and call that love me and worship at my feet. I can be a god here and I still get to have a manner. And what he was missing was someone to be the other side of his coin. So like
Right.
Batman and the Joker, and he needed that foe to challenge him to be better. He was languishing on Europa. And so I believe that whereas Dr. Manhattan knew already, like we've specified, that he knows everything, I think part of that whole knowing everything thing is that he doesn't try to change anything because all he knows is what he knows.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even try to change it, which I feel like he probably could have changed things, but that doesn't ever occur to him because he doesn't have those emotional responses to anything. That's his whole thing. He has lost his humanity. So he has no empathy towards anyone. And the only thing that he realizes is that he can't stay there. It's not for him. And when he sees that Adrian is at a loss as to what to do, that they're going to hunt him down, they're going to find out sooner or later that he caused this whole thing. He says, would you like to have this wonderful place? And he describes it. And of course, Adrian, right off the bat, yes, send me there. Yes. And I did like that we see now he created the game warden.
Yes.
To be a challenge.
Right.
And when he says to him as he's dying, they bake the horseshoe into the cake, which again is a great payoff that we see why the cake is being made every year.
And they hand the horseshoe to him once at the very beginning. Also, I think it's really nice to see, if you go back to the first episode, how happy he is, right? He's riding around. He is typing on the manual typewriter. Therefore, he's a jolly good fellow. Year one. I mean, he's loving this first year.
Right.
This is everything I wanted. Then you realize, oh, wait,
it's not. Yeah. And we
careful
see
what
that
you wish for, right?
Right. We see that deterioration over the years. And I think we do realize that it's playing out before all of the events that we're seeing with Angela, right? Because he's already been rescued by the time that we see Lady Trieu. So that was interesting to see. I had speculated, is it playing out before, during the same time? So that was cool. I like that when he does kill the warden says, was I a challenge to you? And he says, no, but you tried.
Yeah, I think, Adrian has this, can be kind of an arrogant.
Very much so.
Yeah, and I did love, we find out why there's a statue.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's technically not a statue. Yeah, and he needed that in order to get back to Earth. We know that it would take quite some time to be transported back to Earth. So, yeah, and Dr. Manhattan's not around to blink him like he did originally. So yeah, putting him in gold, how much better could that be? Because he already thinks of himself as good as gold.
And I love the scene where Lady Trieu says, and we're gonna get you talking in a minute, Lou, that I need to tell you you're my mother because I think my father's gonna say something. And he immediately says, "You cloned your mother?"
Right.
Yeah, I love the idea of and now we know why she had to buy the house, right? Because that's where the spaceship was going to land, and she wanted to make sure that she owned this. All right, Lou, we've kind of gone a lot. Give us your thoughts.
I really thought that Regina King really played those scenes with her and Dr. Manhattan in the bar really well. Like she was not being standoffish, but she was also kind of being coy. Like I think she was really enjoying the conversations, even though she thought this guy is, out of it. And I really enjoyed the blocking of the shots that they never really showed Dr. Manhattan's face up until he transformed himself into to look more like her husband.
Yeah.
And I assume they did that because they couldn't get the original actor, but was it Billy Crudup? I think it was.
Yes.
Played Dr. Manhattan.
Yep.
I assume they couldn't get him to come back, so they just either he had that mask on because it was a Mardi Gras or no, not Mardi Gras, but Halloween or whatever.
It's
sent to
it's
Victory in Vietnam Day.
Yeah, so it's how there's VA Day, VE, Victory in Europe, the Victory in Asia. So this is Victory in Vietnam.
Yeah. So there was a lot of Dr. Manhattans out and about. So
and the overweight guy that's dressed in blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was funny. And then the other bit I thought was clever was some of the timey-wimey stuff where Angela was, going to ask Dr. Manhattan to speak to her grandfather about Judd's secret, but she didn't have to because she already had told him, sort of thing. So
yeah,
so that was good as well. I'm still not clear on is Judd a bad guy, or is he secretly a KKK kind of guy, or is he just keeping that because it was, like he said, it was his legacy?
No, I think he was part of Cyclops, right?
Yeah,
along with his wife.
Yeah, him and his wife were both Cyclops.
His wife definitely was, but it wasn't clear to me whether he was or not. But
also, right, like you wonder how much was he around Angela and Cal just to try to get them to be close to them, so that this plan could happen, or did he actually end up caring about them?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe both, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I agree with you, Lou, and Karen, you mentioned it too, that Regina King, Angela, she has no interest in this guy, right? She's just there to get a beer, and he's entertaining her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She's finding this interesting. She has no interest in going to dinner with him. She is not going to be picked up, but there's something about him that's charming. And when Chris was very little, like a teenager, he talked about that when he asked Linda, my wife, could he do something? No meant no, yes meant yes, and yes, no sometimes meant maybe if you entertain me enough, I'll change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's where she is this idea. And I love how that lasted the whole hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, she's like, screw it. Okay, fine. I'll have dinner with you. And the whole idea, we're fighting.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like we're fighting, because they're making love. And then, which also goes back to, I don't know, Lori keeps talking about how hot Cal is in previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Now, is that because subconsciously
Is
she
she
senses,
telegraphing?
is
Yeah.
she sensing John's presence? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, very timey-wimey to go. The reason he knew there was a Klan costume in the closet is she told him there's a Klan
Yep.
costume in the closet.
And then
Yeah.
he told her
Yeah,
to
right,
look
like
into it. So they,
closet.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
bootstrap paradox, right?
Yeah.
exactly, right?
Yeah. For
Mhm.
sure. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I really did love the moment when Angela suited up to go fight the Klansmen,
yeah,
even though Dr. Manhattan told her that the outcome was already preordained.
yeah,
And for a moment there, she thought she had broken the chain, right? But then
yeah,
there was one Klansman left and hit the Dr. Manhattan with a tachyon gun. So uh, I just think that, that whole construct of him telling Angela, Dr. Manhattan telling Angela that was the moment that he fell in love with her is so far down the line, but that it works its all the way back to that first meeting between the two of them.
yeah.
I just and Arrival does something very similar to that, so it's pretty cool, and I thought that was quite poignant and really well done.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one scene was so good when they're talking as she's getting ready to go out and confront all these men all by her lonesome. I'll get you out of this kind of thing. And he says, "This is when I fell in love with you."
Yeah,
And she's confused for a minute and she goes, "Oh, right. You experience time all the time. And you might not know exactly when, but now you know why."
yeah.
So
yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
yeah.
And the idea of,
And,
him
oh,
flapping back and forth, and then Adrian like, "Oh, hello, John. Like,
Hmm.
how do you know it's me?" Well, who else is going to show up naked in Antarctica,
Right.
right? Like,
mhm.
that I thought was pretty funny too.
Yeah. I have
Uh,
a question before we move on to the next
sure.
episode, Jesse. Why, and I'm glad you told me this, why did they put that scene of Veidt digging out of the escape tunnel in a post-credit scene?
I have no idea.
Because
Yeah,
that was weird. That's an
Hmm.
important scene.
yeah, it is an important scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, "Hey, got to make sure you guys know that."
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah,
Very weird.
it's streaming on HBO Max. Um, and it actually it was gonna go to the next episode before that
yeah,
came on the screen, which, it's pretty important that you watch that. So I had to actually stop it from continuing on to the next episode in order to see that. So
yeah.
I don't know why they did it that way. Why didn't they just put it at the
Yeah.
end of the episode before the credits rolled?
Because otherwise you don't get the payoff for the horseshoe. Like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
weird. I guess
Um,
they just thought Marvel's doing it. We've got to do it. I don't know.
yeah. It
I also
also, go
that
ahead.
scene when Dr. Manhattan goes to see Vite in Antarctica, um, you really do see that they're kind of on the same wavelength,
Yes.
where he is questioning him, well, why have you it's a lady. Um,
Yeah.
and and he he doesn't know things the way Dr. Manhattan knows things.
Right.
He intuit
Right.
intuits
And like
it.
like I'd already created this thing
Yep. Well,
because
it was
that
supposed to
was
be a weapon
right, a
against him
weapon
to make
against it.
him
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
he was Dr. Manhattan. So
Yeah.
I like that it's used in this lovely way.
By the way, trivia, almost all the songs on this have the blue in the title, which kind of with Dr. Manhattan,
Mm,
for
Yeah.
fun.
Okay.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we've kind of set up everything. Um, you know, uh I love the idea that Angela's like, "We won. You were wrong." Like,
Hmm.
no, no, you weren't. And so let's see. So we're gonna go to the next. All
Yep.
right. So
Can I do my
yeah,
trivia
please.
real quick?
Yes, please.
There were some sketches being shown
Hmm.
in this episode,
Yeah.
and they were actually made by Dave Gibbons, who drew the original comic.
Yes.
A very nice man, by the way. We
I've
got
never
him.
met him, but co-creator. Yeah.
Yeah, we got him to draw some stuff for us once at a
Good.
convention.
Yeah.
And of course the title of the episode, but they say it was a happenstance. They had already given Angela the surname Abar, and then when they put walks into a bar, he was like, okay, how can we not use that as the
Yeah.
title?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's it.
and it
Um,
has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, this
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just an amazing episode. All right, so we go to the final episode. As you see why I said we need to do all three, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, See How They Fly, where we wrap everything up. Um, so I'm pulling up my notes. Um, the they're gonna try, we find out that Adrian had called her. We find out that Lady Trieu's mother had broken in and had inseminated herself using sperm, as you do. You collect your sperm behind a big picture of
Sure.
Alexander the Great because, that's what you do. So therefore, it's his daughter. Lady Trieu wants him to acknowledge her and give her a loan of billions of dollars so she can create this clock and take over Dr. Manhattan's powers. He insults her. I'll never call you daughter. Then we find out because he's stuck on this prison planet forever, he does call her that. Uh, any thoughts on kind of their relationship? And Lou, we'll go with you.
Uh, no, I can't really add much to what more than
Okay.
what you've added to that. I think that
Okay.
you got that nailed pretty good.
Yeah.
It just highlights his arrogance once again.
Yeah. And she calls it a rerun, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
she acknowledges he wants someone to know that he saved the world,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't want the whole world to know.
Right.
I do love the idea that could a cowboy actor win the presidency without me? Kind of nice little thought that
Like
because
Ronald Reagan
Ronald
or
Reagan actually did.
Yep.
Yeah. The so he insults her. She goes, she gets back, she is successful. Um, he ends up calling her daughter. The statue is, and I think that's a great thing. We go back to the Calvary, everyone's
Well, hold
there.
on a minute.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
important thing we learned from that as well is that he never lost his V card,
Hmm.
that he's never
Yes.
had sex with anyone. So
Right.
I found that interesting as well.
Yes, the idea that I'm like I'm never going to soil myself.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah. Did we go at the prison? Senator Keene is, in the Dr. Manhattan looking shorts from the comic, and she's like, "Why?"
Panties.
Yeah, I'm like, "Why are you in this?" Well, it would just be unseemly to have my blank hanging out,
Right.
when I'm about to become a god.
I love how Jean Smart is with that.
Yeah,
She says, "What's the deal with the panties?" I mean, I
yeah.
just love that.
Oh, she's amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it does not go well for the senator.
No.
We also understand that because of, for some reason, the reason kryptonite is dangerous to Superman, that the power ring doesn't work against yellow. For some
Mm-hmm.
reason, old watch battery metal is something that Dr. Manhattan can't move out through. And so he is stuck, kind of it's almost like confused, right? Everything's happening at the same time. He can't concentrate. He's stuck in the cage. Senator Keene is going to be turned into, and all of Cyclops is there. I love the old, they show the kind of symbol. They're all excited that we're going to make this world better. And he becomes chocolate pudding,
Mm-hmm.
which does give Cal, John, enough that he could touch that and send both Looking Glass, Adrian, and Lori to Antarctica lair.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lou, thoughts on all this? and then go anywhere else you want to go.
Yeah, it was it was funny seeing the senator's fate. Quite appropriate. I quite enjoyed that. And I one of the things the actor who plays Lady Trieu, I think that she just has the perfect voice for that character. Like it's a little bit condescending, a little bit arrogant.
Hmm.
Um, and there's something about her tone that just makes you like know that this is an intelligent person. But uh, it was nice to see that she was flawed as well because um, of her relationship with uh, her father is what was her undoing. Like if she had just left him where he was, she would have gotten away with it. But she had to have him there to see her final moment of glory, and that ended up being her undoing. And I also liked how the show ties up the squids from the earlier episodes into this episode, and they freeze they lower the temperature to freeze them and use them as weapons against her as she's trying to transform herself. So I thought that all that circular all those loops were nicely tied off with how the whole dynamic between her and her father played out. And then uh you know they also reinforce certain other themes, like Angela ends up back in the theater with her kids and the
Hmm.
grandfather. I thought that was nicely played. And um, Vight's continuing arrogance is his undoing as he is going to be brought back to jail by Laurie and Wade. Though we never really found out how Wade managed to kill all those cavalrymen and get out of that situation. So that's just like, okay, he's just that good. But so you have to accept that. Um, and we've already talked about the ending. I actually think it was unnecessary. I don't really think it was needed. But if
It,
Lindelof wants to riff off on Inception, it
it,
doesn't
it
hurt anything. But I just felt like it was unnecessary, I guess, really.
expand on that a little bit. What do you mean?
Well, because I felt like the story had closed nicely the way it was. I mean, is is his intent that she will get um Angela will get Dr. Manhattan's powers and that she'll resurrect him or something like that? Like what was the purpose of that? I like the I like the concept of if you could see your whole life and know how it's going to end and that it wouldn't all be roses, would you still choose to make those choices? And by putting that scene at the end, he's taken away, he's diminished that whole storyline in my mind because she can basically, if she's a god, she can resurrect him, or I think she could. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me that undermines the whole purpose of why this that story thread was set up in the first place. So
Hmm.
um it's kind of like like if you go through a horror movie or something like that, and you think you've defeated the enemy, and then the very last scene you see him rising up out of the grave again. It's kind of like, well, that was all for nothing, and it's kind of that feeling that ending left with me. I would have preferred that it wasn't there, to be honest.
So I do not think she can uh bring him back to life,
Well, she
but
can recreate him.
she can have his powers.
Yeah, but
And
she could recreate him. Like he created life out of nothing, right? So
yeah,
if
I don't
he,
know.
if yeah, he on Europa, he created like those
Yeah,
clones of the couple that raised
okay.
Right. So I just and I'm struggling because I don't know what the limits of a god's powers are, like
Right.
especially Dr. Manhattan's, but he was shown to be able to recreate life. So she could recreate him. Now, whether you could get into a whole argument, but yeah, it's just a copy of the original. So is it really the thing? But still, I just I just didn't think it was needed. That's all.
Okay.
For me, anyhow.
Interesting. Karen, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was reading after I saw it that they had concocted three possible endings.
Okay.
One of them is the one we saw, which again, he does not consider a cliffhanger. He comes right out and says that she can walk on water.
Hmm.
And that's the implication that he made. Um, One of the two other endings is Angela crushes the egg in her hand. I'm guessing because she doesn't want his
The
powers.
power.
She doesn't,
Yeah.
right. Um, and another of putting the egg back into the carton and into the refrigerator. So, hey, maybe down the line, um, we'll do that. And I think it
I
was
like that.
interesting.
I like that ending
Me
better.
too. I
Yeah.
agree. Um, Number one, it would be more ambiguous and it would
Yeah.
also have that kind of a hopeful kind of feeling, but
Hmm.
also that, she may not want to recreate him, that was their destiny to have that ending.
Yeah, I like
And
that better.
yeah,
Ambiguous like that. Yeah.
I agree. That would have been my favorite. The cracking of the egg in her hand, no thank you. I don't think she would be that angry about it, but that ending would have been much more impactful, I feel like.
Hmm.
Um, I I really did appreciate the things that went on in this episode with Keen, wearing the panties, getting into you just had to know that Lady Trieu wasn't gonna allow him to have that power, right? That
Right.
she was doing it through him in order to get all the stuff she wanted and to fly under the radar. And I thought that was cool that, well, we have the 7th Cavalry. Why don't we use them? They're evil. I don't like them. And
Yeah.
this is a way to get rid of them.
And I did love the fact that Laurie's telling him, look, she knows what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
She's ahead of you.
Right.
If you do this, this is not going to, and they're just so egotistical,
Yep.
right? There's no way that that they're ahead of us because
Yeah.
we're so smart. I
And
did love that.
I think that's really telling us how smart Lori is.
Yes,
She knew already they weren't going to stop, but
right.
she is telling them, this isn't going to end well for you. But she already knew that they weren't going to stop. So it didn't harm anything for her
Yeah,
to say, I told you so ahead of it.
yeah,
Um, I think it was funny to see their reaction when the squids started raining down
yeah,
and they knew they were gonna get killed. And I also find that it's sad that a lot of the policemen got caught out in the falling
yes,
squid stuff. So I don't like that there was collateral damage, but I get it,
yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
Um, I I liked this ending because I did it, and at the time I was hoping for a second season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was hoping to see what does Angela do. Like Lou Gossett Jr. said, he was a good man, but he could have done better,
Right,
right? With that
right.
power. And I also love the scene where Adrian says it takes one to know one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that I'm an egotistical, and my daughter is, the apple doesn't fall from the tree, right? So I love that about that. I also was hoping that we would get a true Adrian Veidt trial in a second season, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really, really interesting to
Yeah,
see.
it would have. So you're
Um,
seeing it from a different perspective in that we would have seen her and what her powers entail in a second season. We
yeah,
already know that there isn't a second season,
exactly. Right.
so it
Yeah,
feels weird to us.
yeah, it is. I think that's fair. Um, I um I do know, and in fact, there is a scene when the family is walking out of the theater, the highlights of Oklahoma and everything. If there's a screenshot that showed Dr. M are two of the lights
Mm-hmm.
that are up.
Left
So,
in, yeah,
yeah,
in Oklahoma. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I love the idea that we get the payoff that um, because Angela had told her grandfather about Judd, that's when he reached out and they made the deal, right? Like this was
Right.
all very much truly chicken or the egg. What do we have to
Right.
do? Yeah.
Right. And it was yes. That's
Yes,
the answer
exactly.
to,
Yeah,
is it the chicken or the egg? Yes.
yeah. I also think Lori and Adrian are very good together in the Antarctica. I think their
Hmm.
back and forth are really fun. And I did love you know, uh Looking Glass, right? Like going, this guy talks too much. Right?
Hmm.
Just
Yep.
Yeah, he has
yeah,
no tolerance for that
yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Mirror guy.
Yeah,
Come on.
Mirror Guy. And that's you can use that.
Yeah, I love
All right.
that.
I'm about to pull up the questions you guys had, but as I'm doing that, any final thoughts on this episode or the series at all?
Well, I think it was interesting that everybody was trying to become Dr. Manhattan, and I think in every case that those would have been worse choices than the original person that became Dr.
Yeah.
Manhattan because he thought by ending the war in Vietnam that he was making the world a better place, but I don't think he was happy with the results of that, and he said he learned his lesson and he never interfered again. Whereas I think like True, I think she was going to just be a dictator for a day, she thought, and then after that things would be fine. But I don't think that that was going to happen. I think she was going to be a very wrathful and imposing God, and obviously the senator was going to impose his particular vision of the world on everybody as well. So I found that that whole dynamic was quite interesting, and that's what also makes me a little worried about D'Angela getting those powers too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she's got a lot of anger too. So
Yeah, she
yeah,
does.
yeah. So yeah, but
Yeah, I
overall,
think Keen would have
fantastic.
been
Oh,
the next Hitler, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But overall, definitely a fantastic series, well worth watching. Um, very very moving at times, and uh, even though the first episode, I think I wouldn't have structured it the way it was. I still appreciated how almost everything was paid off in this episode. The only things quibbles I have left is like that older child. I still
Yeah.
felt there
Topher.
was,
Yep.
yeah, I felt there was something special or different about him that was hinted at but never really explored.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why they bothered laying those kind of clues in the series if they weren't planning to go anywhere with it beyond
And
just sort of confusing us or keeping us on our toes, I guess. But
and we
yeah.
do have that scene where he is
Mhm.
in her underground kind of,
Her bat cave.
yeah, her bat cave. He looks at the her uniform and kind of, so it could imply that maybe he's going to do this down the road.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
I
given the
think
circle of nature, yeah.
Yeah.
he's also an analog for Angela, that Angela sees herself in him, but is
Yeah.
trying to make sure that he doesn't become her.
Yeah, like I know that, and I'm gonna get the characters wrong. Maybe you'll remember, but on on Harry Potter, one of the
We're too
no,
old.
yeah,
It's not
no,
that. I just didn't appreciate
yeah,
it at all.
yeah, one of the characters is an orphan. But in the little flash forward scene, J.K. Rowling's go, they show that this child was raised with love and happiness and was not as messed up as Harry was, even though they both were orphans. So the idea maybe Topher, because he's raised in a more healthy way with a good family, even though he's an orphan, is going to be happier. I don't know. We'll
Right.
see.
Not going to
Yeah.
have that anger that
Yeah.
Angela has.
So,
And here's
yeah.
this gets me every time, and it shows up in every superhero iteration. Why
Yeah.
do they put their disguises on a dummy?
Yes.
It's not quick to change into that. You have to take it off the dummy and put it on. And then when you're done, you got to arrange it all nicely on the dummy. Why? I don't get it. So the
As
only,
suppose what? As the folding it or putting on a hangers?
yeah, folding it. Why not just fold it and
Well,
then
some
pick it
parts
back
of it
up
are
and
are not cloth, right? Some of it's
okay,
metal.
then drape it over something or set
Yeah,
it on something. It's just
yeah,
lame to put it on a dummy.
yeah.
The
I don't
only
know.
one I could think of is Flash because he'd be able to do it very quickly.
Has it in his
Yeah.
But
ring.
right,
Yeah.
but
Spider-Man has it in his backpack.
right.
Yeah.
And see, why do we not get a quicker way for them to? It's just stupid. The Arrow had his whole intricate outfit with a a vest and a coat and a shirt and pants and boots. He had it all on a dummy in his little arrow cave. And
Yeah.
it always makes me mad. Why do they do that? I don't get it. It could be hanging. Why not just
I guess
hanging? And
they need to look it up from time to time for inspiration or something, or validation. I
I
don't know.
guess I just don't
So
get it. It's not
I
practical.
I will find you and send it. You may have seen this, but my friend Tom, who I adore, right? Tom Zoller, created a sketch for Stephen Amell to sign, and it says exactly that joke,
Does it
where
really?
yes, he is like the city needs you. I got it on a phone. Hold on, Felicity. So um,
Right. Okay,
I will send you
I
that
never saw
sketch.
that, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought of that.
Yeah,
It's just I've thought about it ever since I saw the original Batman where they had it
yeah,
on a
exactly. Yeah,
oh, it just makes me crazy.
I get it. All right, here,
Mhm.
you asked what was the end game? That was
Okay.
answered. What's going to happen to Angela? That was answered. What is the deal with Cal? Right, we got that answered.
Hmm.
Lady Trieu, Millennium Clock, what fell on the Clark farm? Yeah. Is Dr. Manhattan going to show up? How is Adrian going to get off the moon, and does he? Is Wade alive? Will Lori find out who killed Judd? What is the importance of Topher? That's the only one that didn't get answered. Will we see Lou Man? We didn't again. What is Senator Keene's plan? Why the watch batteries? Where is Adrian in this timeline? And what is the statue of Adrian? So, pretty good job of knocking out everything you guys had to do.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Very impressive.
I am so glad you guys love this as much as I do. I think it's something that um, I will go back and every few years watch because I just think it is, and I think in a lot of ways it's beautiful that it is just a mini series, right?
Hmm.
It's just a really well done book.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's absolutely great.
I think
Um,
the what was made into the movie would have really benefited from being done in this time with all the streamers and being made into a series instead of a
yeah,
movie. I think
I
people
agree.
would have been happier with it.
I absolutely agree. All right. Uh, Anything else before we tell people how to reach us?
I loved seeing Archie again. Night
Yes.
Owl's ship, that it was the original, because we
Yeah.
had seen other versions of it, but when Lori saw it, I
Yeah.
thought that was awesome.
It
Mhm.
was.
Um
I
when
agree.
she is so delighted
Yeah,
to
I
see
agree.
it.
I also like the gag with the teleporting basketballs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
And you mentioned it a bit, Jesse, before one of the episodes, but throughout all these episodes, the song choices and the music was top
Mm,
notch as well.
agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the title for this one was actually taken from I Am the Walrus. So,
Yeah. And they play a little bit of that song
They should have said,
mhm,
on
"I
this.
am the Eggman," should have been the title.
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just maybe a little too
On the nose.
On
think.
the
Yeah,
nose.
those, yeah.
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 Good.
I am the Eggman.
All right.
And the walrus.
Before we introduce, as people who've been here a long time know that Farscape is what brought the three of us together. And as we're recording this in the first part of March, there is a Farscape Kickstarter campaign happening where they are trying to do a new comic book. You can buy the as an add-on, you can buy the collection of the previous Farscape comic books. I've not read any of them. I am supporting the Kickstarter just because Farscape brought us together. But have you guys read the comics and are they good?
No, I haven't.
I have them,
Okay.
but I haven't read them.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, but it is an official so I just thought it made me smile that because this brought us together, right? That
Hmm.
Farscape.
Hmm.
Good. All right, Lou, if someone wants to reach you, how can they?
You can find me on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, where you'll find this podcast, the JKL media podcasts where we do one-offs, such as the Watchmen. Also, the main focus of that channel right now is our Babylon 5 viewing. We're up to season 4 now. You can check that out. Also have interviews with some writers under my writers podcast, as well as Stephen King focused podcasts are up there as well. And on Twitter, you can find me at Lou W. Sytsma, Sytsma.
All right, Karen.
I'm at Elevaria on the various social medias, Goodreads, TikTok, Blue Sky, all those places. And, Twitter, of course. And there is a link in my bio that will take you to my blog. And the main page has a list of links that I find valuable.
And I am at Jesse Jackson TFW on Twitter, aka X. Next week, we are going to be talking about the documentary that's just out, discussing the making of We Are the World. And so we're kind of do that as a little, because every once in a while we talk about music. And then it's Karen's turn to come up with our next discussion. And so I know last time we talked, you had not decided yet.
I still have not decided.
Okay. All right. We got a little more time to do.
Yep. So I'm
all
kind of glad that you decided to be selfish and take another turn.
Well, I am happy to do it. I'm anytime I can be
And
selfish.
by the way, that isn't my words. He actually asked if he could be selfish. So
Yes,
just so
I
you
did.
know, I'm
Right.
not being rude.
Yes. Lou, Karen, thank you. This is always such a joy. Every Sunday, us spending time together makes me smile, and I appreciate it. And listeners, thank you for listening. We appreciate you so much. For now, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's be careful out there.
Yes.
Bye.
Yay.
And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.